What up, G-Life fam? It's your boy MC Shadow. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Check out the playlist. The playlist will have all the videos in their own folders. Makes the video you're looking for a lot easier. And if you guys want to pick up any merchandise, the website is up. I'll be leaving it in the description. You guys just scope that out. Now, what I wanted to talk about today is the bond that homeboys have with their barrios, with their neighborhood. You know what I mean? The psychology behind the gang and the gang member. Watch out, the psychology. Nah, but there is a psychological attachment to it. That even those who change their lives, like they become priests or just leave that life behind, fully don't understand. You know what I mean? Although they turn into priests and start preaching and stuff like that, or they leave that life behind and start lecturing the youths and stuff like that. What they don't understand is that they still have an attachment to that lifestyle. Hence, the reason why they still anything that's gang related still intrigues them. Where they like watching like gangster movies or gangster documentaries or reading articles that have to do with gangs. You know what I mean? Like the whole gangster culture and lure, they still gravitate to it. Not them physically where they're out there and doing stuff, but whether reading about it or listening to it or something of that nature. Or even when they're out there preaching and talking, you know what I mean? Because they're still talking about gangs and stuff like that, you know what I mean? It's still a part of who they are. And the reason why that is they like that, they still get to talk about it, right? So they still get to talk about it, so it brings them still some kind of attachment to it, where they still get to remember about it. And the reason why they want to remember and never forget, that is like a family bond. It's like a family bond because when we're attached to gangs, is normally happens when we're younger, when we're young. You know what I mean? And the child's brain doesn't stop developing until the age of 18, right? So you can still be emotionally scarred from the age of when you're an infant to the age of 18. You know what I mean? Because after that, the brain's a little bit more developed, where you develop the parts of your brain where it's like you no longer have those like attachments to things like you would do when you're 18 and younger. And that is the reason why we can't forget, or the reason why we can't let go. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that you had to be out there in action or see somebody, or you get shot or stabbed or whatever to hold some kind of attachment to it, or be scarred or traumatized or anything like that. It goes to even to the thing as of losing a homie. Like that was your childhood friend and he died. You know what I mean? When you lose a homie, and trust me, I should know because I have lost a lot of homies. You know what I mean? A lot of solid homies. You know what I mean? Some that I could say were like my brothers. And it's a fucked up feeling, homie. It's grave. I don't give a damn who you are. I don't care how hard you think you are. Hey, homie, that shit's gonna hurt, homie. Yeah, shit's gonna hit hard. You know what I mean? Every time I think about the homies, I still, it feels gacho. It honestly does. You know what I mean? And I know that that's something that like homies don't let go of. The reason why the feuds and fights and all that still continue, and the reason why this cycle still continues. You know what I mean? The keeping the memory of the homie alive. For the homie. For his death wasn't for nothing, and so on and so on. And just events like that is where they hold the attachment to. You know what I mean? Why they don't let go? Why they technically keep it G to the end of days? You know what I mean? I mean, they can sit there and say that it's not true and everything like that, but when they're at home by themselves and nobody's around, they're reading some kind of article or listening to some kind of gang-related topic. You know what I mean? They just can't help but to gravitate to it. But that's just because the emotional attachment that they have to it, the psychological effect that it has. That's why when I say raise these kids better, I'm not saying that just because like I think that that's the answer. I know that that's the answer. I know that that's what it is. And yes, I have seen people where they say that, well, that's not true because I had a mom and a dad and they were good. Yes, I'm not saying that the parents had to be assholes or evil or whatever. You could have had your mom and your dad, you know what I mean? And they could have both been good people. But at the same time, they could have had their own battles that they were going through, or they were working, they were working where they were all the time working and stuff like that. And the child feels like, you know, he's being neglected, even though psychologically wise, I mean, like real life wise, you know that they're not, because you know their parents are actually working and doing something like that, but the child feels like that nonetheless, because there's no the parents don't explain it to the child, or don't reinsure the child. You know, a child needs reinsurance. You know what I mean? Even though it's common sense that they should know at a young age, it's not so easy as it being common sense to a child's brain. You know what I mean? Sometimes they need some reinsurance. You know, and that's just the way it is. That's why it's important that you bond with your child, that you explain things to your child. You know, that you tell them on a day-to-day that you love them, and why you have to be working, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And try to spend as much time with them as possible. You know what I mean? That is literally is going to be the key into how they grow up as, you know, adults and individuals in this world, and how they carry themselves. But that is the attachment that people have to it. You know what I mean? They were, you know, it does leave some kind of scar. You would think that wouldn't that be wouldn't they display it in hatred towards that thing? No, because even if you see like serial killers whose parents were abusive and treated them cruel, and even where the serial killer kills his parents, when they interview them, you will see that the thing that drives them crazy is that they hate them, but at the same time they still have a lot of love for them and can't stop thinking about them and can't let go of that love, because that bond is a bond when you're a child, when you build that bond, it's a bond that stays with you forever. You know what I mean? It's a feeling that stays with you forever. So they could resent it and at the same time have love for it. You know what I mean? And then there's some that just have nothing but love for it. You know what I mean? Like me, you know, like I understand that it's all stupid. I'm able to comprehend that gangs are dumb and it's better to stay in school and everything like that. But I just can't let go of the emotional attachment that I have to it. You know what I mean? Not to try to sound down or crazy or I'm loyal or whatever. Those are the facts. You know what I mean? The love that I have for it is just is a feeling that I can't explain. It's just something that I have. You know what I mean? It's a trip like that. That's the reason why I like learning psychology. I want to know why, you know, people feel these feelings and stuff like that, because I think it's interesting. You know what I mean? I think it's something that's pretty trippy. You know what I mean? So that's the bond that people have with it, and the reason for that. You know what I mean? It's just that bond that and that's the reason why, because 9 times out of 10 we all start banging, you know, when we're children still. You know what I mean? From 12 all the way to like 17. You know what I mean? Is when we're already in these gangs, and the reason why we have these attachments. You know what I mean? Hence, that's why the people that are 30 years old and get in, or 20 years old that get in, they don't have the same attachment, and they could walk away from it so easily. Is because they were already that part of their brain where it's like it's easy for them to let go. You know what I mean? It's like I have always said, it's easy to get rid of the things that you own now than the things you own then, and that is the reason why. Yeah, but that's just my take on it. You know what I mean? You know, leave you guys' opinion in the comments. If you shadow, we out.